The December 13th, 2022 Tourism Commission meeting to order. Will you take the roll, please, Dan?
Fisher?
Hello, I'm here.
O'Conick?
Here.
Schrader?
Here.
Sedlak?
Here.
Wynn?
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. Item number 2, approval of the April 28th, 2022 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I lost my pen. Any questions, comments? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 3, a review of the 2022-23 Tourism Commission financials and grant balances. Dan, you're gonna go over that first?
So Comptroller Laddick was not able to join us today, so he asked me to just give a summary of the financial document he included in your packet. So the first sheet you'll see, or the first attachment, was the 2022, and it still says projections. The reason for that, as you all know, is that the fourth quarter is not finalized yet. So looking at the first 3 quarters, you'll see that in quarter 1, when you compare the 2022 actuals compared to pre-pandemic of 2019, we were at just over 76%. But quarter 2 and quarter 3 performed better than 2019, where it was 103% and then 115% for the third quarter. Right now, Corey is projecting 100% approximately of fourth quarter numbers compared to the pre-pandemic. Going further from that, he shows the breakouts of the contractual percentages and the split, as well as the expenses that were approved last year. The big number here in the 2022 is that his current projection is that the end of the year balance will be $231,000, just over $231,676 for 2022. So taking that number and applying it to the 2023 projections, using the fairly accurate estimate based on what the fourth quarter projection should be, starting with that $231,600 balance, he's forecasting 100% to 105% per quarter for 2023. If that all works out the way it's set up, showing again the contractual splits between the Tourism Commission, the CVB, and the General Fund, and the projected expenses against the not taking into account your grant applications today, he's showing a year-end balance for 2023 of $267,000 approximately. Again, whatever's awarded today would come off those totals into that projection. So that's what Corey's got set for 2022 and 2023.
All right, any questions for Dan?
Dan, did Corey say how he got the 2023, especially for the second quarter?
How he calculated the calculations, or?
Yeah.
He did not tell me where he was basing the math on. I'm assuming he was, I couldn't answer that exactly.
Okay, that'll probably come in a little higher because we have the USGA. And,
Well, I know he's aware of it.
well, yeah.
But I would assume he put it in his calculation.
It's only $5,000 more than 22, and the rates will be coming in a lot more, so.
All right, any other questions? All right, so next step would be going over our grant applications. We'll do each one individually. I guess if anybody has questions or if something's missing, we can always table and discuss at a future date. So we'll start with item number 4, the Discover Downtown 2-day event application requesting $5,000. Is Troy on the phone, or?
I don't see him.
Anybody? All right. So again, we granted this organization last year. They're requesting a 2-day event again. $5,000 for, so any questions? What?
Did it change at all from last year? I didn't see it.
The event, I don't,
Event.
according, what I read, no, it's not changing anything. Maybe the entertainment's different, but. I did have, I'm surprised he's not here. I did have some questions for him. Because I noticed on his income statement, or in his expenses, he said they have $1,100 in beverage and food expenses, but they don't have any income from that.
Lost $674, I thought.
At the bottom line,
Where?
it was in the note part that he wrote.
But in his statement, I don't see any. You see that under income?
They said they sell beverages to offset the cost, but they still lost $674.54.
Right. Do ticket sale, oh, that's 50/50, sorry.
Oh, well, I just was wondering, because it's not in his income statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if he had that back in, maybe they didn't lose money. Anyway, I think last year when we talked to him, we talked to them about maybe that being a one-time
Right.
deal because it
Yeah.
doesn't change.
And I don't see the heads and beds really,
Yeah.
My question
Yeah.
was, I can tell you that during that time period, we did not at 2 of the area hotels.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think originally they came with a one-day request and we denied it because it was annual. So then they added the second day.
Right,
And then we funded it because it was an add-on.
right.
But this doesn't seem to be an add-on at all.
Well, yeah, and the other thing that I'm kind of surprised, they still not tax exempt, huh? They never, I guess they never formed a legal entity to do all this stuff, because they don't have a
Tax
tax
number.
exempt number there.
Then they're forming the bid now, so next year they'll have.
And I don't know what exactly is the Stevens Point Alliance? Is that just a group of downtown business people?
Yes.
Okay, so they're probably not a not-for-profit group. Probably not yet, yeah. Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Well, nobody's here to answer some questions, so at this point in time, I'd move to deny.
All right. Can I have a second?
I'd second that.
All right. Then you have a motion and a second to deny the Discover Downtown 2-day event. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item number 5 is the Fall Classic 5-game guarantee application requesting $2,000 from Matt Disher. Is Matt on?
No, he's not here, but it's a new softball tournament that, I'll speak for him, because he's my son, obviously, everybody knows that. It's a new softball tournament. When the Softball Association did the turf project at Xenoff Park, we talked about bringing more events in with that, and this is one of them. That's the modified pitch tournament, right? No, that's a fall classic. That's just a brand-new tournament that we're gonna try to run to bring more people in. You'd probably be expecting 16 to 20 teams if they come in. Running softball tournaments is kind of tough nowadays, because every little organization runs them, and they don't have the expenses we have. You know, they don't pay their scorekeepers, they don't pay their umpires. It's tough. It's tough when you're an adult organization, unlike Little League and that kind of thing where parents volunteer. It's hard to get adults to volunteer for anything, you know, so, and this is just to make the tournament successful, make the, expenses for umpires, so that's all it is.
All right.
So 15 to 16 teams is approximately 175 rooms plus the umpires.
Right.
So it is bringing heads and beds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of those teams would be local?
Oh, probably one or two.
Okay.
They don't, local teams just don't play anymore.
And do you have a date chosen?
You know what, I don't know. See, what happens in softball is you can't just pick a date. You have to go out and look and see what other people are doing. Because if you run up against an established tournament, you're not gonna be very successful, because the other teams will go.
So it would just be in the fall?
Yeah, it would be a fall thing when
September,
things
early
have slowed down,
October.
yeah. When things have slowed down. Labor Day weekend? You didn't-
That would be good. Holidays are slow in the area.
And the good thing about these tournaments, they bring heads and beds, and the money that's generated goes back to pay the turf and everything that
Goes
we
back
put
to
into
pay
the
for the
field.
turf,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it goes right back into the facility.
And it
so.
brings so much just to the area with gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants.
All right.
I'd move approval.
All right. Second?
I second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
He's
Abstain.
gonna abstain.
Correct, yes. All right.
Just hover over his name, Tom, at the top. Straight to the right.
Oh, over here.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, there it is. Admit, okay.
So this is the Iron Bull.
All right, number 6 is the Iron Bowl. Is there anybody here to speak for that?
Oh, he is.
My name's Alex Chitters. I'm the Assistant Director of Untitled.
Okay.
Morning.
Could you state what you're looking to do? And
Sure.
I know.
So IRONBULL's a nonprofit based in Marathon County, and we're seeking $4,900 to put on the Rib Mountain Adventure Challenge, which is to be hosted in Portage County this year. That's May 27th. It's a 1 to 2 day event, depending on the length distance that you sign up for. The longest one being 18 hours, the shortest being 3 hours. And in the last 2 years, we've sold out the race at 500 racers. And it is the largest adventure race in the U.S. by competitor. And this past year, we had over 80% participants from outside of the county. So I heard a few people talking about heads and beds. We can certainly satisfy that where I will try to answer any questions you have. I believe you have our agenda in front of you. Is that accurate?
yes.
Yep.
Does
Okay, great.
any part of the race take place in Stevens Point, or is it all
Standing
just Portage County?
Well, the course isn't fully set yet.
Okay.
It certainly can. It's not unheard of for an adventure race to have an urban function to it. And that's something we've talked about internally, wanting to satisfy that requirement as well. Tim and Anna, who are our race directors, couldn't be on this morning. Tim's a professor at UWSP actually, but they're not opposed to that.
So our criteria is, it has to be within the city limits. So if it was within the county, it wouldn't qualify. If it's within the city, we could take action, so.
Okay, is there a hard and fast definition of that? If the race course crosses through downtown, that satisfy it? Just so that I'm understanding it properly.
Well,
here.
and it's, I mean, we're certainly gonna have people staying in Stevens Point for this event.
I think that if we could find a way for that part of that race to be in Stevens Point, I might be thinking that maybe there will be some partial funding available. At least those are my thoughts. I don't know if they run across a corner of the city of Stevens Point, if that's gonna suffice. But how long is the race? How many miles is it?
Well, for the three, it's a combination of biking, trekking, which is off trail orienteering using a compass and a map, and usually a paddling element. It's not defined by distance, it's defined by time generally. So it's essentially a scavenger hunt through the wilderness. 3 hours being the shortest, then we have an intermediate 8-hour race and an 18-hour format. You can run it solo or in teams of 2 to 4. So it's got a pretty heavy family aspect that way, and it is part of the United States Adventure Racing Series, so it gets a lot of attention that way. Professional racers can earn points towards a national championship through our race, but distance-wise, it's hard to say. It depends on topography too. So if it's extremely steep up and down, it would be shorter to make it hit those time goals.
I mean, I would be in favor of this only because, this is, I think, very valuable to our community. I'd be at least willing to partially fund this, but I mean, if it's going through Stevens Point and it obviously brings people into the community, I think it's something we should definitely consider.
Does it run in segments? I mean, how would the race be at Standing Rocks and downtown? Do they take breaks and then have to bus there, or how would you do that?
Generally, there's a start and a finish area that everyone begins at. They would go out and do one portion of the race, say it's trekking first, which is just running through the woods, and then return to a bike staging area. They get their bikes, and then they go do that separate part of the course, return to the paddle area, get in their boats and do that portion. There's no set route either. There are checkpoints all through the woods, and they use little RFID chips that one person each team has back in at each location. So you can do the course in any order that you please, just set over a large geographic area. But race courses can be tailored to funnel people through areas. That's what you're saying. There's required checkpoints. So for instance, you know, you can have a certain number of required checkpoints downtown, with a special challenge related to, you know, local monuments, something like that we've done in the past, to drive the whole field of racers through an urban area. That would likely be the route we would go if that was the requirement satisfied funding.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sarah, you have a question?
Well-
Or-
Just one addition, maybe, one of the requirements in addition to the checkpoints being located in Stevens.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
You might have to go to the mic. She's going to go to the mic. And just let us know if you can hear it.
This is Sarah with the Stevens Point Area Convention and Visitor Bureau. One of the requirements might be, in addition to the checkpoints or a checkpoint being in the city of Stevens Point, making the host hotel be in the city of Stevens Point.
Sure.
He said sure.
So if we were to have a room block, that would
Yeah.
have to be within the city limits of Stevens Point, and that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense.
So if the marketing was done, that it was the host hotel in Stevens Point?
Right, right.
Not a room block.
And Alex, you could reach out to me and I could, help with that.
Can you hear that?
Great.
Okay.
And I've done several of these races and there, I mean, a lot of it is it's in a huge geographic area, so the possibility of it crossing through Stevens Point is certainly not unheard of.
All right, thank you. Any discussion amongst the members?
Bless you.
You know, and I think if he gets things in Stevens Point, I'm in favor of this, because sometimes I think we miss the boat on this committee, that if something is not specifically within the boundaries of Stevens Point, we say no.
Well, especially
And they
when.
still come to Stevens Point hotels to
Right.
stay in our hotel. So
I agree.
at some point in time, our committee needs to discuss that
Right.
and see how we expand our territory,
Yep.
if we can.
Also, the timing of the event is the last weekend in May, which is historically not a very busy time, holiday weekend again.
Okay, they're requesting $4,900.
I would move that if we can see their race map or schedule or whatever you would call it, if they're going to designate Stevens Point hotels as the hotel block, perhaps registrations or starting times or whatever in Stevens Point, if they can figure that out, I would move approval of this pending our park director saying you guys met the criteria.
So is that motion to approve, provided that the hotel block is in the Stevens Point Hotel, Stevens Point Hotel?
And they do something to maybe bring part of the race into Stevens Point.
So it's motion to approve pending that the host hotel is in Stevens Point and the race course touches the city of Stevens Point.
Yeah, maybe the green circle or something like that.
We need a second.
Well, the other thing we need is to
Okay.
add to that, if you could, if
Yes,
friendly.
go ahead.
Is that it gets the city approvals for, if they're coming into town, they're gonna need approval
Right.
to race through the streets or whatever
Sure.
it's gonna be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, can I have a second?
I would second that.
All right, all those.
Wait a minute.
Wait, 1 second. I gotta make sure I got it.
Yeah,
Yes,
and then,
Mike, you wanna go to the podium?
Before you vote on this, are those terms acceptable to the organizer?
Well, I was gonna jump in
Yeah.
once you're done discussing, but, Iron Bull will be hosting the Rib Mountain Adventure Challenge in Portage County
no matter what.
no matter what. We want to continue to move this around central Wisconsin within, growing distance of Rib Mountain, just because that's where our organization is based. But our overarching goal as an organization is to draw economic development in central Wisconsin, so that the large, sort of undefined geographic area. But Portage County has a lot of really great trail systems that we want to start using more frequently in our other race formats. So this is our first foray into it. It's been determined that we will host the race in Portage County. But in order to be successful, grants like these are hugely helpful to a nonprofit like it. So these terms don't sound unreasonable to me, but I'm not the race director. So that's why I'm here for fact finding, hopefully find out what's required from you, the board, and you, the committee, so that we can be fully accommodated. So yes, they sound reasonable to me. I would like to see something in writing if that's possible, so that I can take this back to our board of directors and work on this.
All right, Dan?
So I'll restate the motion, and then I can also share what would be the process if this motion's approved. So it'd be motion to approve $4,900 for, provided that the hotel block is in the city of Stevens Point and the race course goes within the corporate boundaries of the city of Stevens Point, and all city permit approvals are met. If that was passed, if that is an accurate motion, first off, then what would happen is our grant agreement, which I fill out following these meetings, would contain a clause that would state those conditions would have to be met. We would not mail a check until they confirmed it by giving me that course map and confirming the room block that I could check with that hotel that it has been made. Or I could work with Sarah to see that she's been confirmed to me. That's how the process would go if that motion is accurate.
All right. Everybody okay with that? All right, then let's have a vote to approve the request for $4,900 if the events, as Dan stated, would be approved. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 7 is a request for the sculpture park for $3,365. Is Elizabeth on here?
Yep. I just clicked her to unmute. There, okay.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Mary and I are here today to present this proposal. And by the way, since the time we put in the application for this application, we have received and secured $1,500 towards the list. So that would bring our ask to $1,865. That would be needing for this event to take place. We would be lining up the event with the Stevens Point Art Park, which is typically the second or third week of September. And the event, this would be the third year that we have done it. However, we will be adding to the event and changing it. So it will not be presented as it was last year. It will be increased as far as the number of sculptures, and featured activities will be increased as well. Last year we had between 1,700 to 2,000 people in attendance, which was very successful. We've had coverage and following all over the state as well as out of the area in Chicago. Though we don't have a number for heads and bets, we are confident that this is a draw and a tourist attraction.
Okay, thank you. Any?
I'll just say I can't
Right.
vote or talk because I'm on the committee, so I'll just run the
Right.
computer.
Any questions?
Do you have, for the hotel people here, do you have any indication that, or it's hard to say, do they do a room block or anything like that?
No, for this event, no, but during the year, it is most definitely somewhere when people come to the area, what do we do? Or they'll tell us, oh my gosh, we came here because we've heard about Sculpture Park. So, I wouldn't say it's in the high numbers, but the amount of tourists that do go and see it throughout the year is.
Okay.
We even have groups that will be bused there and take walks there and do, a refresh in the middle of their meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, any other questions from members?
1865 is there?
Yes.
I would move approval.
Yeah.
I second it.
All right, all those in favor?
One second, yeah. So I just want to make, so the motion, let me restate the motion. So motion to approve $1,865, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I got it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I abstain.
All right, number 8, modified state tournament, men upper, men lower, women's requesting $1,750.
Is it okay for me to say something from here, or do I have to go sit out there?
I would,
Huh?
I would just move approval.
Okay.
All right.
There's no second.
Who was the second chair?
There wasn't a second.
Second. Have a second for that?
Sorry, I'm still catching up. Mine printed very, in triple, so it's taking a little bit more time to read.
If anybody has
Another
any questions,
softball
I can
tournament?
help.
I am here for any questions.
Oh, he's finally here.
Yeah,
Just,
he came earlier.
oh, really? What, did your alarm didn't go off, Matthew?
No, maybe update like 10 different times.
Okay, never mind.
All right.
So
When is this to take place?
This would take place at Xenon Park. We actually would be taking over the tournament, moving it from the last 2 years. It was a backup. We're hoping to grow it in Stevens Point.
And a time frame? What time of the year?
It is in,
Is there a date?
I think end of July.
Okay. All right, any other?
I'd second this, yes.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. You have that?
I got it.
All right. All right, with all those in favor,
Aye.
opposed, with the one abstain?
Right.
All right, thank you very much. Motion carries. All right, number 9, the Wonderful Water Run is requesting $2,000.
Is anybody here for that one?
I don't see anybody.
I mean, they're looking to grow this event. It's another one that I think brings in people from outside of the area.
431 racers, 18 racers from out of state.
The only thing I wondered is when you look at last year's, they made $6,000. Is-
Qualified yet with the profit?
Well, I don't know.
Did I see that?
Yeah, here's the statement.
Those dollars go back into the community, let's see, what it
Right.
is.
I just didn't know with the $6,000 profit if they're gonna make it again,
Right.
are we just donating
Right,
$2,000 to them?
right, I understand.
That's kinda not the intent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great event, but
It has been here before, and I don't know if it's brought heads and butts.
probably has, because it's a running thing, but.
Event like this, yeah.
So the question is their profit that they reported, and this would be their second year?
I don't know that I'm against someone making a profit.
Right.
As long as they're putting heads in beds, it's not a large corporation, you know, it's not like it's a local business running the thing for their own profit. I think it's another way to put heads in beds.
Again, I'd like to see how they're going to do that or to show it. Maybe that we do it with, that they work with the CVB to make one of the hotels a host hotel.
Would you like to make a motion with
I
that?
would like to make a motion. That if we do accept this, that we have them work with the CVB to make one of the area hotels a host hotel. So that we can track the room nights for going on in the future.
Do you have that, Dan?
Yeah, it'd be motion to accept the $2,000 application, provided that they work with the CVB to make a host hotel in the city of Stevens Point.
All right.
Are you doing the full funding?
$2,000.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just for discussion, they do
Yes.
a registration on Friday night, try to move people in.
Say that again, Sarah? I'm sorry.
They do a registration on Friday nights to lure people in.
To stay overnight.
Okay. You were involved in this last year, just? Okay. All right, number 10 is a request from the city of Stevens Point for interim funding for the Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. I guess last night, I believe it did go to finance, and there was an action on it. I think this organization, you know, truly appreciates everything the CBD does, and, encourage them the best we can. They're doing a great job. I'm sorry that what's occurring within the organization. I think we'll continue to fund with our 47% and all that, but, yeah, I think you guys are doing a great job, so. Mayor?
Thank you for considering this. First of all, I want to reiterate one more time that this is a request coming from my office. The CVB did not approach the city and ask for this. It was something that after the October decision by the Village of Plover to abruptly pull out, leaving about 2 months to figure out how we're gonna have the CVB fill that gap, I started looking at options. How can we get this going? Because 2023 is arguably going to be one of our largest tourism seasons that we've ever seen. And a significant cut in funding means less staff to do the work, less services that the staff can do because they're cutting back. I didn't want to see that happen. I didn't want to see the momentum that the CVB has created die or fizzle out or slow down, because we've been setting tourism records. The reason I didn't put in a grant request was because I wanted to see what your other grants were. If you would have gotten a significant amount of grant requests, I would have tried to find a different avenue. But when we saw that there weren't a whole lot of requests, I thought it appropriate to at least ask the Tourism Commission to help participate in restoring that funding just through the 2023 year, to give the Convention and Visitors Bureau a little more time to figure out how they're going to fill this gap that Plover created with their abrupt disconnection from the Stevens Point area. So I put in a request. I am asking council that whatever this body does not help fund, I ask council to fill the gap and make it whole. We started out with an estimated $300,000, I say we, but the CVB started out with an estimated $300,000 shortfall for 2023. Because of the In It Century and getting back up to pre-COVID room nights, that has actually shrunk to about $100,000. So that's the total amount that I'm asking for. And I was really pleased to hear Mike say that it's okay to make a profit as long as you put heads in beds, and that's exactly what the Convention and Visitors Bureau does. So what I would ask is that if $50,000 is unpalatable for the group, share something with the rest of the city in making that $100,000 whole for 2023, so the Convention and Visitors Bureau can continue, as I said, the momentum that they've created. We're looking at 70,000 people coming in 2023. I know Michelle and the other hotels can't handle it by themselves. Century is a strong partner, but they need everybody. This is an all-hands-on-deck kind of year. And with the marketing that the Convention and Visitors Bureau does, I mean, literally their job is to put heads in beds. So I would appreciate consideration. Again, if $50,000 is too much to ask for the group and you want to keep your reserves for other events, I would ask that you at least consider a chunk and sharing in that request. And as I said, the city council is going to be considering the rest of that $100,000, whatever you're not doing, on Monday. So it passed committee last night, but Monday is the big one for council. So hopefully you'll consider that, and I'm available for any questions. I know the Convention and Visitors Bureau has representation here too.
All right, thank you.
I have questions.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you a question. What's the purpose of this committee who has a set of guidelines, and we make exceptions to our guidelines that we would not make for anybody else? There's no application. I'm not sure where the money's going. I mean, it's going to be to your expenses, but is it actually expenses for the Century Tournament? Is it expenses for other things going on in town? Is it expenses for website and computer upgrades that this committee has already said no to? What's the purpose of this committee? Why would we meet if you can come in, the mayor or anybody else for that matter, can come in with no application, no financials, and say, I think we ought to get given this money. Why don't we just disband this committee and say, if anybody wants any money, go see Mike Wiese, the mayor of Stevens Point, and he'll make that decision.
Well, that's not exactly fair, but I can tell you, Mike, you know why this committee was created. The state of Wisconsin made a law that said we either create a tourism commission or we give it all to the tourism entity.
Yeah.
If we hadn't created this commission, all of the money would be going to the Convention and Visitors Bureau right now, and you would have no decisions to
But
make.
Mike, you created, the committee was created by the city, and we have guidelines.
You do, and you actually talked about changing those guidelines yourself today.
One instant, for one thing, but they're not changed today, Mike.
No, they're not, and if you would like me
Couple other
to
questions.
submit a grant application, I would be more than happy to do that, but I wanted to make sure that the other grant applications were considered.
So, the CVB sold their building to Century Insurance. Public knowledge, for about $640,000. You can look it up at the Register of Deeds. I'm sure there are other, what happened to that money? I think it's in the bank somewhere, and we're planning on maybe one day having to build the building. But we don't have to build the building for the next 23 years. I think the actual number that they're short in my discussions with Sarah is about $74,000. That's less than 10% of their total budget. I just can't do it. I mean, we've done this before, and we said that was the last time we were doing it, Mike, when you came in without an application. So we have a purpose. And I agree that the CVB puts heads in beds. But
Let me ask-
I can't support this. Why, when a business has a bad year, sometimes they have to tap into reserves. Why aren't you looking to tapping into reserves? The people that come before us and ask for grants, they don't have reserves to tap into. If they did, if the softball association, for example, or any of the runs that we're doing came in and said, we've got $150,000 in the bank, what would we say to them? We'd say no. So in my mind, for me, it's the principle. We have rules. And if we don't want to follow the rules, then let's just get rid of this committee. And let's give all the money to the CVB. And let you make that decision.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm just
if,
wondering if we could actually give this a chance to actually come forth with a proposal, as opposed to just saying,
and
consider this.
if I could, Mr. Chairman, that's what I would ask. If the application, or lack of application is the holdup, I'm more than happy to submit that if you will allow an extension, but I don't know that that's going to change anything. So I would ask that, if a grant application would make things different, I'd be more than happy to submit that.
I have a question, it's
Yes,
probably
Michelle.
more for Sarah. Sarah, can you tell us what some of the money's gonna be used for? Is it for, such as payroll, so that you have somebody who is booking events for the future, for the good of Stevens Point? Is it for marketing? Do you have any idea of what, I know you're short, sadly everyone in the room knows. But if you got that money, what would you be using it for?
I mean, we can certainly earmark up, oh, sorry.
So just to add to what Mayor had indicated, our budget is showing about a $74,000 loss this year. And if we want to make our staff whole, we're looking at adding an additional just over 100, it would be just over 100,000. So we did take out a full-time staff position at the Convention and Visitor Bureau. So that's what we're hoping to maintain. In addition to overall marketing, yes, we will have to put additional resources into planning the United States Senior Open. And, we just met again with Century yesterday. We know it's going to be an enormous amount of work from not only our team, but our board will be tapped into, and the community will be asked to roll out the red carpet as well. So making that happen is going to, obviously use additional resources. But I'd also like to add, like, when we learn this in October, November, we already started the budget process. So we can trim and we can shave and we can do some of that. But at the end of the day, like, the momentum's already going. We had some signed contracts because they're multi-year agreements, and we really received zero notice from the village. So we're in a position where, you know, we don't want to cut a position. We want to continue to increase, not only, you know, continue to market, but increase for the United States Senior Open next year.
Well, and you have 4 other one-time first events here, as well as the USG Tavern League and some other large events that you have.
Well, and all the ones you just approved. So.
Bring into the area that are still going to need to be supported.
Right, right. The work doesn't stop, just
I guess
because.
I support your organization. The 50,000 or whatever to me seems more of a blank check. Like, I've been on this for, 7, 8 years, and my feeling has always been, if you can come to me with a specific event that you need money for, I'm for it. But just to say, COVID is, you know, something going on, we need 25,000 for this, we need this.
Well, and just to clarify, we didn't come to this committee
No.
with a grant application because
Right.
we've done that before and never gotten approved. The intent of room tax is for tourism promotion and tourism development at the core, right? And we have been denied for tourism marketing projects in the past by this committee. And that's why we didn't come to the committee with another request, because it's marketing. It's not an event. It's not a single event. We don't host events. We promote events in the region. And it's not a tourism development project, it's a tourism promotion.
But is a specific group you're going after or something, I guess, if you could say, you know, we're looking to bring
We
this.
just hired back our full-time salesperson 2 weeks before the Village of Plover pulled their contract with us. And we would like Jacob to be able to go out and consistently market the region as a hotbed for meetings, conferences, and sports tournaments.
I feel like we need to have a successful CVB in order to even exist as a committee. I mean, I think that that's at the core of what it is that we're doing here. And I think it's important that we at least say that coming back with a grant request, we would be able to consider.
This
that.
is truly gap funding. We will figure this out. Just last night, the Finance Committee approved the build of a new Home 2 Suites in the Portage County Business Park. That'll be great in terms of increase in room tax for this organization. We are seeing, and Michelle can, you know, restate this too, but we are seeing an increase in occupancy and room tax collections because of higher ADR, average daily rates in the community. So in due time, we know we'll close this gap, this void from Plover. I think it'll happen over the next 2 years.
All right. Any other questions?
Well,
Tom?
I guess the question I had was, you said it's gap funding anyway. We have reserves, you have reserves, and apparently the city has reserves because they've offered. I think for you to come back with a grant request and it's going to be marketing or staff, I would hate to put you through that, filling out the process to come back knowing it doesn't meet our criteria.
Right.
And it's, I mean, everybody's got reserves here, so sometimes you got to dip into them for 1 year. And I would assume 2023, you're going to get a lot of that back just from the hotels, what we talked about with room tax this year.
We're
So
hoping.
it's just a short-term fix that it appears the finance committee is willing to help too. So that's the route I would go through,
Yeah.
what was already offered for you. And if you have to dip into some of yours, then you might have to for 1 year. And it won't be a lot, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I do have one other question.
We have been dipping for 3 years.
So, the mayor's making the request. Why didn't the CVB make the request of us? Because you knew.
I just said,
Yeah.
you
I
knew
knew
it
I'd be
didn't-
denied.
You knew it didn't qualify. Right. Okay.
Anything else?
Just for clarification, she didn't say that it wouldn't qualify, you did.
No.
She just said that she knew it would be denied.
Mike,
It's on video.
Mike, she said.
What
that.
I'm asking for
Been you.
is, everybody has reserves, you are absolutely right. But this is a partnership. Without the Convention and Visitors Bureau, there's nothing for you to do. Without the grants that you're giving tonight, there's nothing for the Convention and Visitors Bureau to do. the city is a partner in this as well. What I'm asking is that, yes, we all have reserves. I'm asking for all of us to chip in a little bit to help. Everybody has bad things that come up. There was no way we could have anticipated Plover pulling up stakes and going out on their own. Just like if there was I don't know, whatever event, pick an event, that all of a sudden had something terrible happen, and now they need a gap. A softball tournament where suddenly we don't have enough staff and the lines don't get painted. Okay, we gotta figure out how to make that happen. So I'm asking the CVB, as Sarah said, is the shortfall, projected shortfall is a little over $100,000. They're eating some of that. The city, hopefully, is going to help participate in filling that. I'm asking that this group help fill that too. All three of us, partners to support tourism. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion to
I can
approve?
tell you guys that if it wasn't for the CVB, and I know that I help oversee two of them, approximately, I haven't done this figure since 2019, but I believe it was 47% of the room nights that came into the larger hotel were in conjunction with the CVB, with the one staff person that was just replaced. I do move that we make a motion to see if we can get a grant, to get the paperwork to see where it would go,
All right,
and to have us reconvene.
I second that.
okay, so we're having a motion to accept the grant application from the city for a request.
Is motion to request a grant application for funding?
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
From who?
CVB.
From the CVB.
And that, the second was here?
That would,
Okay.
have to bring financials with them, you know?
Okay.
Is that something they want? I mean, we asked the same thing of the Iron Man.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I'm bored with.
Yeah, I don't think she,
But I, yeah, would be grateful to,
A completed
be able to,
application
apply,
with financials.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can apply, it's just, you know the criteria.
So you post a special meeting.
Yes.
Chair, if I could.
Yes.
Very similar just in history, last year, I think the committee made the Bucol group come back, and then you held a meeting, I believe, in February of this year. So that could be done if a grant would come in.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, so we have a motion to request information from the CVB for a grant proposal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
We have 4 and 1 abstain, so motion carries. Item number 11 is discussing outstanding room tax pledges that we have on the books. We have several of them to discuss.
Do you want me to highlight that?
Yeah, well, here, so we have the PCYOI Zamboni balance of $93.48 left. The athletic field turf, we have $50,000 left. Fire training site of $5,000 left. Turkey field turf of $180, and the Bucla lighting of $100,000. Question would be, do we, this year, since we are somewhat limited on the request, do we want to pay one of those off early? Maybe the fire training site, which is only the remaining of $5,000. These off a little bit. Any thoughts?
I think it behooves us to take a look at paying off everything that's completed, that's done. Gerke Field Turf isn't finished yet, Bucla Park Lighting isn't finished yet. Fire training site, athletic field turf, and the Zamboni are all done. So there's no more athletic turf improvements to be done at Xenon Park. So why don't we just say, let's pay them off?
Well, I guess I don't want to take the fun down, you know, again, we have things such as this that we may be discussing, so I don't want to use it all, but I don't see reason why we want to keep a $5,000 item left on there, so, comments, questions?
I'll just add, Chair, just so you know, what was approved today so far was $12,515. I just added it up, so you can take that into account off the 23 number.
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
12,515.
Is that counting the 49 possible fire and home?
I'm not counting your pledges, I'm just counting the grant applications,
Okay.
2,000, the 2,000, 4,900, 1,865, 1,750, and 2,000.
Okay, thanks.
I wouldn't have a problem with, taking some of them off. A good one might be the fire. If we went to them and asked, if you had $5,000, could you complete it quicker? Or are they waiting, they got the training center they're building.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
And are they waiting every year just for the 2,500 to add more to the training facility? Or if we gave them the 5,000, would they complete the training facility
Sure.
and get people in here quicker? I don't know.
It's a
You have to
conversation.
say, it has brought approximately 400 to 500 room nights
Oh, okay.
Really.
Wow.
already.
So if they could get this done quicker,
So, and we have groups that go there
Wow.
to see it. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend you go
yeah.
for one of their demonstrations.
Okay. How about we look at the PCYOI Zamboni and the fire training site?
So the Zamboni pays off in 23 regardless, because that's the last year in the pledge.
yeah.
So just
Okay.
if you look at the years remaining, that one will be paid off.
Yeah.
And then in theory, if you were just paying the 23 budgets, you'd be paying 2,500 of the training site, so you'd have 25 additional you're really talking about here today. And on the athletic turf, you're paying 10,000 in 23, so you're talking about 40,000 potentially, or some sum of. The other thing I'll just point out, Bucol Park Lighting, the committee did put a contingency on that last year that they had to raise their full share. So while it shows that a pledge payment was going to happen this year, it didn't, because they've not brought the financials yet. They also have not committed officially yet to 2023 if they have the funding raised. The city has also done the capital planning for that. The city also is not moving forward with that until that full payment is
Okay,
ready to
so
go.
we
So
should
that
really
one's
hold
a
off.
little bit on pause right now.
Our savings.
So we could just look at the fire one.
Yep.
Yeah, it really comes down to the fire, probably, today's consideration based on what you said would probably be the fire training sites, 2,500 additional, and then if you want anything on the turf of the 40,000, that'll be remaining.
So I motion that we pay off the fire training site.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we agree to pay that off at the 5,000, 2,500. All right,
Never thought the fucking training.
all right, anything else?
I never thought that this would have given us money from them.
Motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Wisconsin Association.